Greetings to you all, and congratulations on the staging of the 16th annual Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer and Fasting. Needless to say, this year's event could not be more crucial for our country, Jamaica, but also for the entire world. Again, thank you. Thank you also for your care and concern for the children of Jamaica, and for giving me the opportunity to present a situational analysis of the state and status of our children. Of course, with the limited time, this is by no means exhaustive, but highlights and pinpoints some of the crucial areas of concern, and more importantly, some of the crucial areas for action. So here we go. The total population of children in Jamaica is somewhere around 977,000, almost a million, representing 37% of the overall population of Jamaica. To break that out, children 0 to 9 years make up about 450,000, and children 10 to 18 years somewhere around 527,000. Now, it's interesting that while only 37% of Jamaicans are children, almost 1 of every 2, or 44.5% of Jamaicans who live in poverty is a child. It's also important to note that children in rural areas, of course, are the poorest, are the most affected, with more than a quarter, or something like 26.6% of the children in rural areas are in fact living in poverty. Approximately 82% of Jamaican children are born out of wedlock and are living in single-parent households. Needless to say, we know that what Jamaica is faced with is a serious family life crisis. And my own motto has been over decades, if you fix family, you fix Jamaica. Just going back to the poverty statistics, to graphically grasp the magnitude of the problem of child poverty, one just simply has to visit the Children's Monument downtown Kingston. I don't know how many of you have seen that. When that monument was erected some years ago, and I was there for the unveiling of it, we never thought we would run out of space at the base of the monument for putting children's names. These are children who have died tragically and violently in Jamaica. I have to tell you, the monument is now completely out of space. And the point to be made here, it's not only the high numbers of Jamaican children who have died violently and tragically, but the fact that I would suspect that over 90% of those children are children of the poor and working classes in Jamaica. So moving on to the issue of children's health, approximately 20% of births in Jamaica are to adolescents. In other words, a child gives birth to a child in 1 out of 5 births in Jamaica. About 1/3, or something like 32.8% of females experiencing pregnancy between the ages of 15 and 24 first conceived while they were still in school. And only 34% of adolescent mothers return to school after giving birth. Most of these statistics come from UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund. Continuing with children's health, 50% of young women reported having sex with partners 5 to 10 years older than them. And there's also many reports of high rates of forced sex. In fact, somewhere around 20% of the girls who experience this kind of sexual violence has to do with, of course, forced sex. Moving on to children and education. Of course, with the continuing violence in Jamaica, we know that children's rights to education is continually disrupted due to the violence, as I said. Boys continue to underachieve, of course, with serious implications for criminal activity. And you may be interested in knowing that we still have corporal punishment, although it's banned in early childhood institutions, but is still practiced and tolerated in other educational institutions in Jamaica. Children, of course, who go missing do not attend school, and access to free education is only available to children 6 to 12 years old, not for secondary level students. We hardly ever talk about children with disabilities in Jamaica, but that's a serious issue. More than 37,000 Jamaican children live with one or several forms of disabilities, including sight, hearing, speech, physical disabilities, mental retardation, and learning disabilities. And while the majority of those 5 to 14 years are of school age, again, children with disabilities, only 10% of children with disabilities are enrolled in the formal school-based programs. Moving on to child labor, which is a big problem in Jamaica, defined as work that deprives children of their childhood, their education, their potential, and their dignity. Labor that is harmful to their physical and mental development. That's the definition. We continue to have serious problems with child labor. It is estimated that over 17,000 Jamaican children between 5 and 17 years of age are involved in child labor, many of them living on the streets. Children and violence. 87.2% of children ages 2 to 5 years are commonly subjected to punishment using all forms of violence. I have to just tell you a story quickly that some years ago, Hear the Children's Cry held a vigil in front of Bustamante Children's Hospital for several nights because a little boy was in hospital there, and he was battling for his life. He had gone to school this particular day, and just like boys would do, playing football, and somehow lost one foot of his shoes. Came home with only one foot of his shoes, right? His father proceeded to beat him mercilessly, but that wasn't the worst thing. The father put him to stand at a spot in the yard and doused him all around him with kerosene and set it ablaze. And when we held the vigil, because the little boy was at the brink of death. Thank God, our merciful God, he survived. But this is the kind of thing we see in Jamaica. We hear about, we see it, we know it all the time. And boys are punished more frequently and with more severity than girls, typically. Of course, girls are, as I said before, victims of sexual violence. In 2006, girls under 16 accounted for 32% of all sexual offenses in Jamaica. Just want to move on before I completely run out of time, just to quickly talk about the crisis of missing children, which is a particular area of focus for us at Hear the Children's Cry. On an average, and this is now before COVID, somewhere between 120 to some months as high as 150 children are reported missing in Jamaica, month after month, year after year. Most of them come back home, perhaps 75 to 80% of those children return home. Of course, the problem is they return home with all kinds, a whole slew of problems. The trauma, sexual abuse while they're missing, pregnancies, all kinds of things. But also that 15%, 15 to 20% that are not accounted for month after month and year after year, which leads us to think that child trafficking is alive and well. And quite frankly, we don't know where many of those children are, even now. So a lot of our children are going missing. And during this COVID period, it's interesting here, the Children's Cry just put out a press release 2 days ago to the Jamaican media, talking about the children going missing under this these curfews and these lockdowns during this COVID period. Now, it's not, the numbers are much lower than the normal reports we would get. We reported 2 days ago that 22 children went missing for the month of June. So we are happy the numbers of missing children have gone down, I guess, dramatically. What we are not sure about, and we're trying to dig deeper, is whether there is underreporting. In other words, given the curfews and the challenges with mobility and restricting people from going to police stations to make reports and so on, we are not sure exactly what's happening in terms of why the numbers are so low. We think it's underreporting. But just to say that, and you probably have heard in the news, that the sexual abuse of children have increased exponentially during this COVID period. So, not good news overall. So those are some of the main statistics I want to share with you. And in concluding, I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen of the diaspora, the truth is that children in Jamaica have become an endangered species. And as Jamaicans, we all have a duty to act. And especially those of us who understand what Jesus meant when he said, "Let the children come to me. Let the children come to me." So the question we have to ask is, are the children in? Are the children in? Thank you so much, and congratulations once again on staging this very, very important annual Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer and Family. Thank you.